Cordyceps. Let's start with one that's actually based on a real fungus. Cordyceps from The Last of Us. In real life, Cordyceps takes over ants' brains and makes them climb to high places before bursting out of their heads. Terrifying, right? Well, the game asks a simple question. What if it jumped to humans? In The Last of Us, this fungus mutated to infect people. It spreads through airborne spores or bites, and here's the creepy part. It doesn't just kill you instantly. It transforms you in stages over years, like some horrible metamorphosis. First, you become a runner within hours to a couple of days after being bitten or exposed to spores. You're fast, aggressive, and still look mostly human. You can sprint at full speed and you still scream and show emotion. Runners are terrifying because they are the bridge between human and monster. You can still see the person they used to be. Then, after a few weeks to months, you turn into a stalker. These guys are smart, they hide in shadows, they crouch behind cover, and they coordinate ambushes. The fungus is growing on them now, but they've retained this creepy intelligence that makes them hunt like predators. But the real nightmare is when you become a clicker after about a year or more. The fungus grows these thick mushroom-like plates completely over your face, making you totally blind. So how do they hunt? Echolocation. Make these clicking sounds, which is where they get their name, and hunt you like a bat in the dark. And they're incredibly strong. If a clicker grabs you, that's pretty much it. Their grip strength is insane because the fungus has reinforced their muscle tissue. If you somehow survive for over a decade as infected, you become a bloater. These are basically walking fungal tanks covered in thick armor plating made of hardened fungus. They can throw spore bombs that create clouds of infection, and they can rip people apart with their bare hands. They're slow, but they're almost unstoppable. And here's something truly horrifying. There are even rarer forms. Shamblers that release acidic gas, and rat kings, which are multiple infected bodies that have literally fused together into one giant mass of fungal horror. These things are found in areas where the infection has been concentrated for decades. And here's something really disturbing. The fungus creates a hive mind. All the infected in an area are connected through this underground network of fungal growth. If you alert one infected, the others in the area know exactly where you are. They communicate through the fungus itself, sharing information about threats and prey. It's like they're all part of one massive organism, and you're just an intruder in its territory. The scariest part? There's no cure. Scientists tried for 20 years and got nowhere. The whole world collapsed in a single day, September 26, 2013. They call it Outbreak Day. The infection started in crops, contaminated flour from South America. By the time anyone realized it wasn't just food poisoning, it was everywhere. Cities fell in hours. The military set up quarantine zones that became these oppressive authoritarian states where people live in constant fear. But that was just the beginning. Fast forward 20 years, and the world outside those walls is unrecognizable. Nature has completely reclaimed everything. Buildings are covered in vines and fungal growth. Streets are cracked and overgrown with vegetation. And entire neighborhoods have been swallowed by the wilderness. The infected roam freely through the ruins of what used to be civilization. There's one girl, Ellie, who's immune because she carries a mutated strain of the fungus that doesn't take control.
I can explain.
You better explain fast.
Look at this.
I don't care how you got infected.
It's 3 weeks old.
No, everyone turns within 2 days, so you stop bullshitting.
It's 3 weeks. I swear.
She's literally the only known immune person in the entire world. The Fireflies thought they could synthesize a cure from her, but it would have meant killing her to extract the fungal culture from her brain. And even then, there was no guarantee it would work. So humanity's last hope became an impossible choice. Sacrifice one immune girl for a chance at saving everyone else, or let her live and accept that there's no cure coming.
But it grows all over the brain.
It does.
Resident Evil T-Virus. Next up is probably the most famous zombie virus, the T-Virus from Resident Evil. And here's the thing, this wasn't an accident. The Umbrella Corporation deliberately created this as a bioweapon. The T-Virus was built from the progenitor virus discovered in rare West African flowers back in the 1960s. 3 scientists found it and realized it could rewrite human DNA. So naturally, they weaponized it to create biological weapons that could replace entire armies. The T-Virus is a retrovirus. It hijacks your cells and forces them to produce more of itself. Once you're infected, incubation takes minutes to hours. Your skin starts rotting, your muscles decay, and your brain shuts down. You lose all reasoning and become this shambling zombie with one drive: hunt and eat living flesh. Your eyes cloud over, you're incredibly aggressive, and you're actually stronger than when you were alive. But it doesn't stop at basic zombies. Depending on your genetics, you might mutate into something worse. Lickers are skinless monsters with exposed brains and massive tongues that whip at you. Crimson Heads are faster zombies with red skin and claws that sprint at you if you don't burn the body. And Tyrants are Umbrella's ultimate weapons, massive creatures with sword-sized claws. Mr. X from RE2 is a Tyrant, nearly invincible, and can punch through concrete walls. Animals get infected too. Cerberus dogs with exposed muscles hunt in packs. Crows swarm and attack. Sharks the size of buses. Spiders as big as cars. If it was alive, the T-virus can weaponize it. It spreads through bites, scratches, contaminated water, and some strains might even go airborne. Once it starts spreading, cities fall within days. Raccoon City went from a normal town to a zombie wasteland in less than a week. Are there cures? Technically, yes. Antidotes like the Daylight vaccine exist, but the virus mutates so fast that by the time you develop a cure for one strain, it's already evolved. And Umbrella didn't stop at the T-virus. They kept experimenting, kept pushing for something more controllable, more powerful. They created the G-virus with even worse mutations. Each new variant was supposed to be the perfected bioweapon, but they just made the nightmares worse. The T-virus was just the first domino in a series of biological catastrophes that would plague the world for decades. Green flu. The green flu from Left 4 Dead is basically rabies on steroids, and here's what makes it absolutely terrifying. Nobody knows exactly how it spreads. Sometimes it's airborne, sometimes it's not. The virus mutates daily, which means by the time you figure out one transmission method, it's already evolved into something different. It started at Mercy Hospital in Fairfield, Pennsylvania, with patient 0 showing up with symptoms that looked like rabies, aggression, confusion, irritability. Within days, the infection had spread throughout the city. CDA, the Civil Emergency Defense Agency, tried to contain it, but they were fighting blind. They didn't know if it spread through bites, airborne transmission, contaminated surfaces, water, or even livestock. The truth? It was all of them, and it kept changing. The incubation period was just as unpredictable. Some people turned in 4 days, others in 3, some in just 2.5 hours, and a few unlucky souls turned in 5 minutes. It was completely random and impossible to predict. Most infected become common infected. Fast zombies that sprint at you and overwhelm through sheer numbers. But about 37% of people mutate into special infected based on their genetics, pre-existing conditions, or just random chance. Boomers are bloated and filled with bile that marks you for attack. Every zombie nearby swarms your position. Hunters can pounce from 30 feet away and pin you down. Smokers have 50-foot tongues that drag you away from your group. Tanks are massive brutes that throw cars at you. Witches cry until you disturb them, then they attack with claws faster than anything else. In Left 4 Dead 2, the mutations got worse. Spitters vomit pools of acid. Chargers rush you with one massive arm like a battering ram. Jockeys jump on your back and steer you into danger. But here's the nightmare. Some people are immune carriers. They look healthy, feel fine, but spread the virus to everyone they touch. This is why safe rooms failed. Why evacuation centers collapsed. Survivors were helping each other while unknowingly spreading the virus. When the military discovered this, they started eliminating anyone with the carrier gene on site. Brutal, but without a cure, they saw no other option. The green flu spread faster than any pandemic in history because it was unpredictable, constantly mutating, and carried by people who had no idea they were infected. Necromorph. Now this one's really messed up because the necromorph infection from Dead Space isn't even a virus, it's something far worse. It all starts with these ancient alien artifacts called markers that emit electromagnetic signals. The signal does 2 things. First, it messes with living people's minds, hallucinations, dementia, driving them to harm themselves or others. The marker needs corpses. Second, once you're gone, the signal restructures your body on a cellular level in seconds. Your bones break and reshape, organs get repurposed, limbs twist into blades and tentacles. The transformation is so violent that blood boils in your veins. What's left is a necromorph, a killing machine designed to create more bodies. Different corpses become different types. Slashers have massive blade arms, lurkers shoot projectile tentacles, brutes are multiple bodies fused into armored tanks, And here's the nightmare. Shooting them in the head doesn't work. Their biology is decentralized, sustained entirely by the marker's signal. The only way to stop them is dismemberment, cut off their limbs. They can survive in space, don't need to breathe, and display tactical planning. They're controlled by massive hive mind creatures that receive the marker's signal and coordinate all the smaller necromorphs like a telepathic command structure. The ultimate goal? Convergence. When there's enough biomass, everything fuses into brethren moons, moon-sized intelligent organisms that create this whole cycle. They leave markers for species to find. Those species build more markers, infection spreads, convergence happens, and another moon is born. It's been going on for millions of years across the galaxy. The infection spreads through the marker's signal or contact with necromorph tissue, and it works on any organic matter from any species. What makes it terrifying is realizing this isn't just one outbreak. It's happened countless times across the galaxy for millions of years. We are just the latest species to fall into the trap. Rage virus. The rage virus from 28 Days Later is different from most zombie infections because technically, these aren't zombies at all. They're still alive, just consumed by uncontrollable fury, and that somehow makes them even more terrifying. The virus was developed by Cambridge University researchers studying inhibitory behavior in primates, specifically looking for treatments for aggression disorders. They infected chimpanzees to study rage responses, but the virus escaped when animal rights activists released the infected primates despite warnings from scientists. Here's what makes this virus so fast and deadly. It spreads through blood, saliva, or any bodily fluid contact. An infection occurs in 10 to 20 seconds. Not minutes or hours. Seconds. That's faster than almost any pathogen we've ever seen. When you're infected, you don't die and reanimate. You stay alive, but the virus floods your system with adrenaline and completely shuts down all higher cognitive functions. Your eyes turn bloodshot red, you vomit blood, and you enter a permanent berserker rage state. You can't think. You can't reason. You just attack anything that moves with pure animalistic fury. What makes the infected so dangerous is they retain all their physical abilities as living humans. They can sprint at full speed, climb, break through doors, and chase you down relentlessly. Unlike slow zombies, there's no outrunning these things easily. Here's the really disturbing part. The infected don't eat people. They don't feed at all. They just attack out of uncontrollable rage. They'll bite, beat, and claw you, but they're not trying to consume flesh. They're simply expressing endless fury, which means every attack is purely to spread the infection and hurt, not to sustain themselves. The virus spread catastrophically fast. Britain went from first infection to complete societal collapse within days. The infection started in Cambridge and reached London almost immediately, overwhelming all containment efforts. Now here's one weakness. Because the infected are still living humans who don't eat or drink, they eventually die from dehydration and starvation after about 28 to 30 days. They literally burn out from their own rage. If you could isolate and wait them out, the infection would theoretically end on its own. But that silver lining comes with a massive catch. Some people can be asymptomatic carriers. They're infected with the virus but don't show symptoms of rage. They appear completely healthy and can pass screening tests, but they spread the virus to everyone around them through their bodily fluids. This is how the infection broke containment multiple times, spreading from Britain to mainland Europe when carriers were unknowingly allowed into safe zones. The rage virus represents one of the fastest spreading infections in zombie fiction, 10 to 20 second incubation, victims that can sprint, and hidden carriers that bypass all security measures. It's a perfect storm for pandemic spread. Solanum virus. Selenium from World War Z creates what might be the perfect zombie. One bite and you turn in 12 seconds. Your body convulses, seizes up, and then you're up and hunting. The virus shuts down all your organs, heart, lungs, everything, except your brainstem and the part that drives you to hunt living humans. What makes these zombies so dangerous? They don't decompose. The virus preserves dead tissue indefinitely. They can walk along the ocean floor for years, freeze solid in winter, and thaw out functional, survive desert heat and Arctic cold. And they just never stop. They're attracted to noise, movement, and the scent of healthy humans. But here's the weird part. They completely ignore sick people and corpses. They can somehow sense robust health, which led survivors to camouflage themselves by acting ill. The zombies aren't smart individually, but they display terrifying emergent behavior. If there's a wall, they pile up on top of each other, forming massive human pyramids to climb over it. They don't coordinate, it just happens as more push forward. Imagine a 100-foot pyramid of zombies toppling over your defenses. The book calls the initial outbreak the Great Panic. Entire armies were overrun not by individual zombies, but by massive swarms numbering in millions. A single zombie, not a huge threat, 1 million zombies moving like a tide, that's extinction level. Conventional military tactics failed completely. You can't intimidate or outmaneuver zombies. The only thing that worked was brute force elimination. Organized firing lines, taking headshots, treating it like pest control on a global scale rather than warfare. World of War Z shows that the real threat isn't individual zombies. It's when they reach critical mass and move like an unstoppable wave of bodies. The Crippen virus. The Crippen virus from I Am Legend is tragic because it started as humanity's greatest achievement and became our worst nightmare. Dr. Alice Crippen was a brilliant scientist who genetically modified the measles virus to target and destroy cancer cells. And it worked. It actually worked. She cured cancer in 10,000 test patients with a 100% success rate. She was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year. Humanity had finally conquered cancer. It should have been our crowning achievement, but the virus mutated. Something went wrong with the modification, and it turned into this airborne pathogen that spread faster than anyone could track. The pandemic killed 90% of Earth's population within months, just straight up gone. 9% of the remaining people transformed into these creatures called Darkseekers. Only 1% were naturally immune. Darkseekers aren't mindless zombies. They're intelligent, they live in complex social hierarchies, and they hunt in organized packs. The virus causes complete hair loss, extreme photosensitivity, like sunlight literally burns them in seconds, pale, almost translucent skin, and massively enhanced physical abilities. They're stronger and faster than normal humans, and their senses are heightened to hunt in the dark. What makes them truly terrifying is that they're not just animals. They have an alpha male structure. The leader of a pack makes tactical decisions, sets traps, and coordinates group hunts. They live in dark places during the day, subways, basements, abandoned buildings with all the windows covered. At night they come out to hunt, and they remember. They can track specific targets, hold grudges, and work together to get revenge. These aren't mindless infected, they're organized predators. The animals got infected too, creating Darkseeker dogs and other creatures just as aggressive and intelligent as their human counterparts. The infection works on any mammal, making the entire ecosystem a threat. The Crippen virus spread through airborne transmission, making it nearly impossible to contain once the mutation occurred. Within months, major cities were completely abandoned, with the few immune survivors living in isolation while Darkseekers claimed the night. The virus turned humanity's greatest medical breakthrough into an apocalypse that wiped out nearly the entire species. Trioxin. Trioxin from Return of the Living Dead might be the worst infection on this list because you literally cannot stop it. Once it's loose, that area is permanently contaminated. Trioxin, officially called 2,4,5-trioxin, was developed by the Darrow Chemical Company for the U.S. military during the Vietnam War as a defoliant to clear jungle vegetation. But they discovered it could preserve biological specimens, so they used it to keep corpses from decomposing. The chemical exists in liquid and gas forms. The gas spreads through air, water systems, and soil. When any organic tissue contacts trioxin, it reanimates. Fresh corpse, decades-old skeleton, severed head, doesn't matter. If trioxin touches it, it's getting back up. Here's what makes trioxin zombies unique. They keep their intelligence. They retain memories, personality, speech, and reasoning. They can use tools, operate machinery, make phone calls, and plan coordinated attacks. These zombies specifically crave human brains because eating them temporarily relieves the constant agony of being in a rotting body. And here's the nightmare. You cannot stop them. Decapitation, the head keeps talking and biting. Dismemberment, each piece moves independently. Shooting, they're already gone, so it does nothing. Burning them, that's the worst option. When you burn trioxin-infected tissue, it releases the chemical into the atmosphere. It mixes with water vapor, forms clouds, and falls as contaminated rain. When that rain hits graveyards, every buried corpse reanimates. One burning zombie can raise hundreds more from the ground. The infection spreads through gas exposure, consuming infected tissue, or contact with contaminated soil and water. The practical reality is horrifying. Any area contaminated with trioxin becomes permanently uninhabitable. You can't clean it up, can't burn it out, can't wait for it to degrade. It's an eternal zombie zone. The only option is to abandon the entire region forever. And that's the breakdown of 8 nightmare-inducing zombie infections. Now here's the real question: which apocalypse would you least want to face? Drop your answer in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next one.